Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Temple of the Exploding Head Saga, Part 1, Chapter 13, The Falling in Love Ball. So last week, we pretty much concluded the intermediary chapters in Book 1. With my books and my style of presenting a story, usually Book 1 is the one that has the least amount of action. It's a lot of world building, character building, and so forth. We introduce a lot of the characters that you're gonna encounter throughout the rest of the story, kind of get the plot rolling, and then the second and third book have a lot more action and adventure. This story, as I've mentioned before, follows the hero's arc. So right now we're just in the beginning stages of the hero's arc. And then Book 2 deals with the intermediary part of the hero's arc, where the hero goes on a long journey and learns things, becomes better, perhaps, if that's possible. And then the third book, we have a final confrontation with the main bad guys. And the bad guys have been laying low, or have they? Or have they? Have they been watching from afar? We'll see. We'll see. So with this chapter 13, The Falling in Love Ball, we're sort of ending the intermediary part of the book and getting more into the plot and so forth. Now, about this chapter, even though it's chapter 13, was once chapter 1, and it was an earlier draft of the story when that was the case, and I had a lot of different ideas floating in my head. A lot of them got cut, a lot of them hadn't fully developed yet, and that was evident in this chapter, The Falling in Love Ball. We're introduced to a lot of things. We're gonna meet Sarah and Phillip, Kay's cousins, for the first time. A lot of things changed and shifted, and I'll go through them at the end. But for now, let's get to Part 1 of the Temple of the Exploding Head Saga, or Book 1, The Dead Held Hands, Part 1, Kay and Sam, and this is the second to last chapter in Part 1. We have one more chapter after that, then we get into Part 2, which is called The Invisible World, which should tell you something about what's been going on behind the scenes. In any event, let's knock out The Falling in Love Ball.
We used to be evil once, and the gods are still punishing us.
So, you want to step outside? Sarah of Blanchford said, throwing down her napkin and standing up, knocking her chair over. Kay sat there at the table and shook his head. Oh, this was a bad idea. So, what is the event that's coming up? Sam asked as she watched the workmen haul in float loads of supplies from the village. It's a ball. Every so often my mother and my aunt, Lady Poe, talk my father into hosting a lavish ball. My father hates big society functions, but he can't say no to my mother, and she just loves them. A fifth party? When will it take place? Next week, during the full moons. My mother and my aunt always pick a theme for their balls, and falling in love is the theme for this one. Sam watched the activity dreamily. May I come? Well, certainly you can come if you want, Sam, of course. Nobody knows we're seeing each other, so we couldn't present as a couple. Well, we could pretend that we don't know each other. My grandmother was your father's seeress, so my having an invitation won't be so unusual. It'll be fun to pretend we don't know each other. Kay thought about it. All right, But there's a few things you'll need to be aware of. Sam was leaning over the rail of his terrace watching the staff haul the supplies in, her medallions dangling. Are you listening? I'm sorry, Kay. What is it? As we're both under 30, we'll be consigned to the children's area. Under 30 is always considered a child in League society. Also, you're going to notice most of the children in the hall with us will look a little strange. Strange? Puffy faces, like Lady Kylos. It's something we elders have to go through. We live well past our 200s and generally live disease and age-free. However, the trade-off is a rather malformed childhood. Some have it worse than others. I always keep it to myself. I think Kai looks rather like an unbaked biscuit right now. Oh, that's mean. Your face isn't puffy. I've never had it. I don't know why. So with that in mind, it's a tradition to keep the children separated in their own little area at special functions such as a ball. We'll be seated in the Capricos Hall with the others. All right, that's fine. Now, there are going to be several people seated with us at our table. One will be my friend, Lord Lon of Probert. Who's he? Oh, he's a delightful young fellow from Arden. He helped me work out the technical details of my carg a few years back. I think you'll like him just fine. Also, there'll be my cousin, Philip. He's coming up from the south specifically for this event. Well, I've always wanted to meet your cousins. What is he like? Well, he's a good fellow. He's quiet and rather cerebral like his father, Lord Peter. He's a natural pilot and can fly the Goshawk ship like anything. He and my sister Hathaline are both great pilots. They must have inherited all the piloting skills that I didn't. Do you think Philip will like me? Oh, certainly Philip will like you. There's no doubt. The problem isn't Lon or Philip. The problem is Sarah. Oh, the blue-haired one who dresses like a boy. Well, that's her. I think she's 10 minutes older than Philip is. Kay struggled for words. Sarah is... she's the one Kai doesn't like, right? Yes, that's her. Sarah prides herself on being a loudmouth and something of a bully, too. She's quick to judge, quick to jump to conclusions, hot-headed, pugnacious, rather stubborn as well. I'm told by my father that Sarah is the spitting image of my grandmother, Countess Hermelane of Hanover. My grandmother was known about the society as a particularly nasty black widow, and Sarah is every bit as nasty. Kai just can't stand her. Sam was perplexed. Oh, I don't think I blame her. She doesn't sound like a very pleasant person, Kay. It's mostly a lot of bluster, Sam, and Kai can't get past it. Deep down, Sarah is a lot more like her matronly mother, Lady Poe, than she cares to let on. She's a devoted sister and a loyal friend, and there's nothing she wouldn't do for you once you have her trust. The big problem with Sarah is that she does not like monomas at all. Why not? Sarah has a big imagination, and she loves the lurid and the bizarre. She has a library taking up the entire 50th floor of Zyodal Tower, where she keeps all the creepy stuff she's collected. And it's a lot. She has a fascination with berserkicides, most of all, and I think she's actually frightened of them a little. And when she sees a monoma, all she sees is a berserkicide hiding within. I see, Sam said quietly. So, she's probably not going to trust you much, and she might even go out of her way to be nasty. One thing to keep in mind with Sarah is that she values strength above all else. If she gets in your face, don't back down. Don't overdo it, but don't be meek either. Well, perhaps I should teach her a lesson in humility. Perhaps such a thing might do her some good. I'd appreciate it if you didn't, Sam. Sarah's a blowhard, no doubt she'd have it coming to her, but as she's my friend and my cousin, just let it go and be the bigger person than she is. All right? Fine, she said. I promise. Oh, one thing to be aware of. Will there be alcohol at the ball? Well, doubtless. Some light stuff for toasting. I cannot drink alcohol, Kay. We don't handle it very well. Well, that's fine. Just request some gasol or whatever you want from the servers. It won't be a problem. Sam put her head down on the rail and watched the staff haul crate after crate of supplies into the castle. Sarah of Blanchford had been giving Sam the evil eye all evening. She was sitting across from Kay in a lemon-colored Blanchford gown. Sarah detested gowns and was clearly uncomfortable in it. Her royal blue hair was also done up high, and she fussed with it constantly. She had been talking with Kay about some of the new places she wanted to explore in the summer. And there's this thing I heard about south, haunting the Gaston Way Pass called the Wraith of Gaston. Isn't that cool? I want to do some investigating and catch this entity cold. Her brother, Philip, stirred. The Gaston Way doesn't sound like any fun to me, Sarah, he said. Just a lot of nothing out in the mountains. She was on a roll. Oh yeah, the stories come out of there say there's this freaking monster that chases down passers-by in the wild where there's no help. Then it disables their transports, hauls them out, and murders them. Sam sat at her seat at the far end of the table and rustled uncomfortably. She'd been very quiet all evening, getting a constant angry eye from Sarah. Your pardon, she quietly said. I don't believe this creature has hurt anybody. Sarah's gaze snapped to Sam. What'd you say? Speak up! I said I don't believe that creature you speak of has harmed anybody. Yeah? What do you know about it? Well, I can't understand you, Sarah yelled in her loud voice. What's with your accent? Don't they teach you how to talk down there? Philip, wearing a lovely green and black-tailed coat, spoke up. Sarah, you're being very rude. Philip turned to Sam. Apologies, Lady Monima. Don't apologize for me, Philip. She needs to get the marbles out of her mouth, or better yet, move to another table. She ought to be apologizing to me for damaging my calm. Lady Kylos was sitting next to Kay in a white gown. I can understand her just fine, Sarah. Perhaps you've got cotton in your ears. Who's talking to you, Tez? Sarah said in an ugly voice. Sarah loved calling Kai Tez, which was an Esther word for cheap prostitute. The Duke of Olin had taught it to her, and she just loved using it, finding it a particularly demeaning name to call a person. Kay, sitting opposite of Kai, had heard enough. He and Sam shared a few glances here and there, and he could see Sarah's sour attitude was wearing on her. Sarah, he said, your enthusiasm is appreciated, but you need to tone it down a little, right? All guests in attendance are welcome here. And don't call my sister Tez, you know I don't like that. Sarah usually listened to Kay, and she quieted down for a time, toying at her plate of food with her fork. Still, she kept a mistrusting eye on Sam. She could go berserkicide on us at any moment, Kay, she whispered. Shh, he responded. Lord Lon seemed to be having no trouble speaking to Sam. He sat next to her in his ill-fitting blue coat and buckle shoes, chattering away. And this pin here, my lady, I won at the annual Science and Space Jamboree the sisters hold every year in Arden, he said, pointing at a collection of pins stuck to his coat breast. Congratulations, my lord, she said. You must be very intelligent. Oh, well, the staff came by with a tray of watered-down kids' wine for a toast. They set a goblet of the purple drink in front of Sam. Sentle, she said in Annui. May I have a glass of green gasol instead, please? The staff member bowed and went to get it for her. Sarah watched her with interest. What's the matter? Our wine not good enough for you? Kay was about to shush Sarah up again when Countess Sigillus came rushing into the ball. Kay, there you are. Can you come with me, please? Lady Hamilton would like to see your coat and pattern I designed. She might wish to make a sizable purchase. Sigillus had designed Kay's clothes, Philip's too. Kay stood and Sig adjusted his lapels, looking him over, hands on. Oh, you look wonderful. You too, Philip. Come with me, please. It'll only take a moment. Philip stood and she took both of them by the arm and led them out of the hall. Alone at the table, Sarah wasted no time. Aren't you a little old for green gasol? She asked Sam. Sam sat properly as her glass arrived and was placed on the table, frothing with whitish-green bubbles. Oh, we enjoy such things, she said. What? I can't understand you. I said that we like gasol in the Monima lands. The time for the toast came, and all stood and raised their glasses. Sam stood with her gasol. "What's the matter?" Sarah said, holding her glass. "Can't take it, can you? You little peasant you are." "Lady Blanchford, you are blah, blah, blah," Sarah interrupted. "Can't understand a word you say. And by the way, I thought I caught you making eyes at Kay. You do it again, I'll have you flogged out of the castle. Understand?" Not while I rank you in this household," Kai said, jumping in. We'll see what Kay has to say about that. He'll listen to me." "Oh, you really are incredibly stupid, aren't you?" Kai shouted. "Shut up, Tez. This is between me and her anyways. Butt out." She turned back to Sam. "Now, you speck of Monoma trash, pick up that wine and drink it. Pick it up." Lon spoke up. "Now see here, Lady Blanchford, you are behaving most inconsiderately. Lon, when she goes berserkicide, you're going to be the first one she guts," Sarah responded. The word berserkicide seemed to bother Sam. She pushed her glass of gasol aside and tentatively picked up the glass of wine. She sniffed it. "That's right," Sarah said. "Drink it." "Sam, don't," Kai said. "Lady Monoma," Lon said, "if you don't want it, don't drink it. Don't listen to Sarah." Sarah was unrelenting. No, Lon. I think she wants to prove she's not a berserkicide. Go ahead, Monoma. Drink it down," Sarah said. "You watch. She's going to go nuts on us." There was a wave of clapping and a tinkling of crystal as the toast filtered through the hall. Sam closed her eyes and drank a few swallows and clanged her goblet with Lon's. "Drink it all, peasant. Don't be rude," Sarah said. Sam emptied her glass and sat down. Sarah watched her eagerly, waiting to see some outworldly transformation take place. "So, how many people have you killed, Monoma?" she asked. "I have had it with your mouth, Sarah," Kai yelled. "Yeah? You want to do something about it, Tez?" "Sure, I could stare you down into a pulp right now. How would you like that?" Kai responded. Sarah was shocked. "You wouldn't dare use your gifts on me. We're family. Whose side are you on?" "Not on yours, that's for sure. And try me. You've had it coming to you for years." As Kai and Sarah faced off, Sam shrunk in her chair and leaned over, threatening to fall face first into the table. Kai was alarmed. "Sam, I mean, Lady Monoma, are you all right?" Sam didn't respond. Kai stood and went to Sam. "Lord Lon, can you help me with her, please? I think she's sick." As she reached Sam, her eyes snapped up and gave Sarah a withering stare. "So you know the heart in the bazaar, do you? Please, Sarah, shall I tell you about this creature, the Gastonway? You so crave?" Sarah sat there, fully convinced Sam was about to change into a berserkicide. Sam spoke, droning in an odd voice. "It knows the future. It sees danger and possible complications from afar. It's afraid of what it sees." "What's afraid?" Sarah asked. "It waits for them in lonely passes where it knows there's no help. It uses nightmare magic and makes itself more than what it is. Where they pass, in the transports, it comes upon them. They think they are safe in their transport. They are frightened when it catches them running along the ground, wreathed in smoke. It attacks their craft, fouling its works, and forces them to flee the pass. And then it kills them," Sarah added. "It frightens them and allows them to flee." "How do you know this?" Sam narrowed her eyes and ground her teeth. "I can see the future." Kay and Phillip returned to the table and seated themselves. "You been behaving yourself, Sarah?" Kay asked. He saw Kai and Lon standing next to Sam. He saw the empty glass and residue of wine. "What happened?" "Sarah goaded Lady Monoma into drinking some wine," Kai said. Kay was furious. "Sarah," he said, "Monomas can't drink wine. I think we should fetch a hospitaller. I think I saw Beth in the main ballroom." No, watch," Sarah said. "Watch. She's predicting the future is going to change on us in any moment. We need to rush her when she does. Just watch." Sam sat there wobbling a little. Lon put a protective hand on her shoulder. Lady Monoma, may I help you to a washroom? Sam belched and pushed his hand away. So, Lord Cable, our gracious host, she said, her words slightly slurred. I've listened to your friend here discuss his accomplishments. Very impressive. What are your plans, sir? If I may be so bold. My lady, we should find you medical assistance, just for in case the wine makes you sick. I'll need medical assistance. Fine. So, my question, please, I'd like an answer. She stood up unsteadily. I've currently no plans, my lady. I'm only 21 after all. His jade-colored eyes met her black ones. Are you going to join the fleet, soar the stars with your mother and father? No, my lady. I find that space travel does not agree with me. I'm sorry to say. I see. And you've given no further thought to the future? No, my lady. Sam smiled. She had big teeth, accentuated by her black lips. Come on. You're 22 in age, but look at you. No trace of puffiness, swelling, and you look a man already. Thank you, my lady. Sam gazed at him. Is he not handsome, Lord Lon? Lon was startled by the question. Well, certainly, I suppose. Sarah began to get tense and hiked up her gown. What I tell you before, Monoma, don't look at him and don't speak to him. Sam turned back to Lord Cable. You're certain you have no plans then? Lord Cable, no thoughts for the future? She asked again, pressing the matter. Lord Lon brightened up and spoke. Oh, Lady Monoma, I am planning to attend the Sisters Twilight 4 Technical Seminary this summer. I was one of only 10 students to be selected. She turned her head and looked at him for a moment. She gave him a wry smile and patted him on the cheek. Suntley, quite an honor. She loosed another belch and then quickly turned back to Kay. I'm still awaiting your answer, my lord. No, my lady, and I don't tend to have any for the time being. Sarah rustled in her chair. Well, what about you? You're soon to be of age, officially. What are your plans, other than dying and freaking out into a berserkicide? Philip gave her a kick under the table, knocking her heeled shoe off. Sam grabbed a piece of meat off the table, her claw-like fingernails glinting in the hall light, as she picked it apart and ate it. I'm to be married, Lady Blanchford. Yes, I am. Oh, that's wonderful, Lady Sammy Doran, Lon said. Will you share with us right now who your future lord might be? She sighed. Oh, let's say my future husband is sitting right here at this very table. Everybody looked around at each other. The temperature most certainly seemed to drop at the table. Philip, brave and empirical as ever, spoke up. Lady Monoma, I congratulate you and Lord Lon for your upcoming union. I must say, I had no idea. Me? He squeaked. Sam appeared put off and turned to Philip. Londona? She exclaimed. And why, Lord Blanchford, do you say I'm to be wed to Lord Lon? Charming and brilliant, you might be, she said dryly. She tented her greasy fingers and clacked her long black fingernails together as she awaited his answer. Philip paused a moment and responded, well, certainly we've just met, so it cannot be me, and as I know most of the doings of Lord Cable here, it cannot be he as well, so therefore it must be Lord Lon, and I'm not as aware of his doings. Lord Lon swallowed. Sam gave Philip a hard, squinting stare with her piercing black eyes. Are you so certain it cannot be you, Lord Blanchford? Are you so certain that you have not been Glentigome? What does that mean, my lady? Promise to me, she said in a sly voice. Are you certain that hasn't happened? She waved her fingernails at him. Her black nails were long and dotted with hanging pieces of meat, and she made sure to let Philip admire them. Lady Kylos raised an eyebrow and smiled. I think Sal's really drunk, she sent to Kay via telepathy. She needs a hospital. I'm gonna go find Beth or Inez. No, he's drunk too. I saw him passed out on the floor. Philip was clearly shocked. Yes, Lady Monima, I'm quite certain my mother and father would never do such a thing. In any event, my mother cannot keep a secret, and she'd have let something slip like that a long time ago, Sarah said, interrupting, ready to defend her brother to the death. She fished around under the table for her shoe that Philip had knocked off. Sam laughed boldly. In any event, Lord Blanchard, rest assured it's not you. You're brave. Easy, sir, she said cheerfully. Philip, though he tried to hide it, was visibly relieved. Lord Lon, after some thought, appeared agreeable to get to know Sam a bit more. Apparently, after a bout of inner turmoil, he'd gotten used to the idea. Lady Sammy Doran, he said in a shy voice, lost in the blueness of his large coat. Have you ever attended the annual Science and Technology Exposition in Arden? She looked at him for a moment and smiled. No, my lord, I have not. Oh, well, it's a wonderful event, and I would love to show you the... Lord Cable, she said, teetering a little. You are looking particularly handsome this evening. I approve of your attire. It pleases me. Your mother is a genius? Thank you, Lady Monima. Lon was small in his blue coat that matched Lady Sarah's hair. It was off-the-rack house Probert creation, not nearly as stylish and well-fitted as Kay's. Do you like my coat, Lady Sammy Dorn? It's new. She ignored him. And what shall we name our first child, sir? She asked Kay abruptly. You invite me to sit closer to you, sir? As we shall soon be. Very close. Everyone was silent. You're fine where you are, Sarah said after a moment. Kay's not marrying you. Oh? I didn't think you were his keeper. Lady Sarah. Sarah began to get annoyed. I'm not. But Kay is my cousin, and he's my best friend as well. He's not getting pushed into anything he doesn't want to do. You're not his type. Monima. Think so? You throw down the baton? Lady Sarah? It would never get that far. I'd throw you down first. Sam leaned forward, displaying her handsome bosom to Kay. She locked eyes with him. What do you say, Lord Cable? Would you not want me as a wife and countess? Kay swallowed hard, not quite sure where to go with this. Sam, when not drunk, demanded secrecy. He had to be careful. My lady, he said, you are a beautiful young woman and doubtless have many gifts for which to share. However, as I have said, I'm merely 22. I don't consider courting as of yet. You didn't answer my question, sir. Kay looked at the cable. I really don't know what you want me to say, my lady. Sam saw Lon's half-finished glass of wine, picked it up and drank it down. She staggered and fell, laughing, her pointed Monima shoes flying into the air over the tabletop. Sam! Kay cried. Lon and Kai knelt down and helped her. Sorry, love, she said as they hauled her light body back up. I expected your reaction, and I forgive you. But might as well know one day you shall love me like no other. I have seen it. She made drunken eyes at him relentlessly. Lord Lon was a little deflated. Sarah fumed. Quit looking at him, Sarah said. Why don't you go and freak out like your countryman in Calvert did last month and go berserkicide? That's all you Monimas do, isn't it, Sarah? Kay said. Be quiet. Sarah stood up, wobbling slightly as she still was missing a shoe. She's trying to bewitch you, Kay. Can't you see it? I'm trying to help you out here. Sam turned and glared at Sarah. Oh, you only knew what I've done with Kay. Up and down, back and forth. Sideways and forwards. You don't know your cousin as well as you think you do. You're really not all that bright, are you? Oh, yeah? I'm going to step outside and discover how smart I am? Berserkicide? I mean, Lady Monima? Sarah yelled, kicking her chair aside. Sarah, Kay ordered, sit down. I've been you, Sarah. She needs a hospitaller, Kay said, cutting her off. Sarah was frothing mad. You and your pack of grave-loving freaks are the bane and laughingstock of the league, and the only reason you've been invited to this ball is because my uncle, Lord Davidge, has a fondness for your late grandmother. Otherwise, he'd have nothing to do with the lot of you. Sam's normally white complexion turned bloody red. Of all words, she said at last, coming from the daughter of a pirate, she said, referring to her father's former and alleged membership in the Black Goshawk gang. Sarah screwed her eyes up and leaned forward. We're better a pirate than a stinking fortune teller waiting to soak your claws in elder blood. Lord Long struggled to hold Sam up. Now see here, Lady Blanchford, that was... And, Sarah said on a roll, if you think you're good enough for Kay, you're as blood simple and freaked out as the rest of your family. You're a useless peasant, not worth half a hater, and that's all you'll ever be. Sam went to say something, then put her hands to her face. She jerked free from Lon and Kai and staggered out of the room towards the noise and pomp of the ball, her black gown and bustle trailing like a shard. Kay stood, fuming. I appreciate you looking out for me, Sarah, but that was exceedingly rude and uncalled for, he said. He saw her elusive missing shoe on the floor near his chair. He picked it up and tossed it to her. You're lucky I don't floor you right now. Me? Look, I'm sorry, but she's a freak, she said, catching the yellow shoe in the midriff. And what did she mean when she said she's been me? It gives me the creeps. I don't know. Well, I don't think she's a freak, Lon said defiantly. Kay, Philip said, where are you going? Lady Monima is a guest of our home, a guest who has just been insulted by my idiotic cousin here. I'm going to go find her and offer my apologies. He stormed away to find Sam. And with that, we conclude chapter 13, The Falling in Love Ball. So there's a lot to that chapter. And again, as I mentioned, it was the original chapter in the book, number 1. And there's a lot of different drafts in this chapter. Things weren't exactly how they were going to turn out when I wrote this chapter. So this chapter is the first chapter, I should say this chapter is the first one that mentions the House of Monima, but they were very different in the first draft. They weren't weird prophets with black eyes and claws. They were just a house of elders who had a lot of gothic tendencies. They tended to powder themselves really pale and grow their fingernails out and paint them black and dye their hair black and so forth. They weren't anything different. They were just dressed up, basically, like goths. Lady Strella of Monima, which is her name that she had. There was no Sam yet at this time. Lady Strella was, in League circles, kind of a outlier, kind of an uncomfortable hangers-on, and her making eyes at Kay was very uncomfortable. So all the dialogue Sam had after she got drunk on this wine was what Strella had said to Kay, and everyone was kind of put off and disturbed by it because, you know, she was kind of a weirdo and nobody really wanted to be rude or anything except for Sarah. And so that's how that, and I never really updated that dialogue exchange except for a few things about Sam being really drunk. Again, the Monimas went through a huge metamorphosis, and the character of Sam eventually showed up. And Lady Strella of Monima, I reused her elsewhere in the book, and she's not a Monima anymore. She's actually a ship's captain in the fleet, and we'll meet her in book 2. The Captain Strella of the Halo Dawn, just a ship in the fleet. Sarah, some of the commentary I get back from Sarah is a lot of readers really hated Sarah as she proceeds through this book. She's a bit of a git. And I wrote her this way because, you know, sometimes good people are a pain in the ass. And that's just all there is to it. Sometimes people have really abrasive personality. Sometimes people are loud-mouthed. And sometimes people who are basically good people come across as real assholes. And so that's what I was shooting for, is have Sarah just come off as a real jerk. And maybe I overdid it a little bit. As Kay said, though, once you have Sarah's trust, there's nothing she wouldn't do for you. So she's not a bad person. You just have to get past all this BS. And once you do, you find that her attitude changes remarkably. Anything else that so yeah, very old chapter. Some of the text in there doesn't quite match up with the rest of the book, but I didn't think that it needed to be changed. I just added some details, changed Lady Strella to Sam, and made her drunk. That is Falling in Love Ball. And you see I moved it because it was just too much introduction, too many characters being introduced, and blah, 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 to be chapter 1. So I thought it fit better much farther back here in the book. So next week we continue on chapter 14, The Library, and that is the last chapter in part 1, and it's very short. And then we move to part 2, The Invisible World, where Kay starts to notice all the strangeness that seems to hover over Sam, the shadows that seem to follow her, and starts trying to piece together what exactly is going on, because Sam isn't saying a word. She never does. She never says anything. So we will see this mystery unfold as the book progresses, as we get out of part 1 and into part 2. So next week we'll knock that out. In the meantime, this is Ren Presents. I am your host, Ren. Peace out.